We can use a variation on this lead-in theme with just tweaking the formula slightly. And so this formula is a little more general. Before, we had mentioned the author and the title, which works for anything having to do with some kind of source. But we can also do the same thing by mentioning key concepts from the question. So if we're taking an essay test and we're asking an essay question, you can use this lead-in formula to construct a really good opening line, a lead-in, for the rest of your answer. And this will not only give you some points with your instructor, because it'll be a much more professional opener than, a lot of times students don't do any opener. They just jump in and start trying to answer it. And the advantage of is that it will, by kind of going through and spending more time looking at what the question's asking for, you're sort of forced into this if you're going to write a good lead-in. And that will keep you on track as the writer and the answerer of that essay question. I know a lot of times with essay tests and essay questions, students they read the question and they pick out a concept or two, and then they just pretty much write about it. Write about whatever is asked about. But a lot of times you need to look at the question more closely, because some of these words that we just listed, some of these are used and they become key words in essay questions that your instructor might ask you. Your instructor might say, compare and contrast the whatevers. Or they might say, argue for something. And so you need to pick up on the fact that arguing for or comparing is not the same thing as just writing about. I mean, we all know we're going to talk about summaries here in a bit, and I find a lot of times students, no matter what the question is asking, they will just sort of maybe write a summary of whatever it is they think the question's on, when the question may not have mentioned anything about give me a concise version of it, which is what a summary would be. So some of these same words, these precise words, may show up in an essay test question, and noticing them can help keep you on track. So we can vary the formula a little bit. Here I mentioned a couple places about keywords or key concepts. Generally, you will find these in the essay question itself. And one good habit to get into is to circle those keywords or underline them so that you notice them. And try to, when you write your lead-in, work those same words, those keywords, those precise verbs, and also the key words that mention, if it's something about the Civil War and Abraham Lincoln and something about the Reconstruction, you want to make sure you work all those concepts, those terms, key words into your opener. And, of course, you can still use the precise verbs because they might already be there in that question. And then you're going to rewrite the question into a declarative sentence. Sometimes essay questions are written like a question, where the instructor might put why or how in there. But often we find that essay questions aren't questions at all. They're commands. Do this, do that. Trace the evolution of the blah, blah, blah. And here again, evaluate what somebody did when they took steps in a historical period or that kind of thing. So let's look at some examples. You want to make sure you stay targeted on the question that's being asked. That's the best advice I can give. And by focusing more on the question itself in order to write a good lead-in, then you will have a better understanding by the time you begin your answer of where you should go with it. So let's say sample essay question. Discuss Stephen White's use of techniques for description in empty windows. Connect the examples to the specific techniques they exemplify in your discussion. Notice neither of those really are written like a question, are they? They're commands. But we could circle, if we were going to circle keywords to keep us on track, we could circle Stephen White, techniques for description, empty windows, maybe examples. And often I went ahead and wrote out this thing about examples here, but some instructors maybe won't spell it out that clearly for you. They'll just have the beginning, just the first line of this question. And, I'm always telling my students, anytime you're going to make any kind of points, give examples, be specific, connect those examples to whatever they're examples of. And I'm always amazed at how many people do not do that. Or they may just make a little list of examples that aren't really connected to the discussion. And so those are the key words in this particular question. A possible lead-in. Here again, we're going to just write a lead-in is essentially a sentence. And here again, we've got the key words. In this case, it's a short essay named Empty Windows. Here's the author of it. He used a variety of descriptive techniques like this, that, these other things. He succeeds in establishing a dominant mood or atmosphere. And then that kind of sets you up so you can go through your examples. This would also work, the same formula would work in other situations. For instance, if you were in speech class, communications class, or even art appreciation, and you're asked to attend some sort of an event. It might be a speech or a poetry reading, or it may be maybe some sort of event like an art gallery opening in your community. And you might be offered bonus points to go attend this event, or it might be something you're required to do. And then, of course, you might be asked to either get up and speak about that, share your opinion with others on that, or you may be asked to write about it, write a review. And so in that case, you could still use that same formula, only where key words and key concepts or titles of authors and titles of, or names of authors and titles of works, you'd substitute the title of the event and things like where it was and work those into your lead-in.